Well, that sucks. Ryan here, and I'm going to share my favorite Easter eggs and references from episode 7 of Preacher's final season. Let me know your favorites from Messiahs in the comments below. Make sure you're all caught up with the show and comics because this video is full of spoilers. Let's start off with the fallout from Jesse's death. We find out Tulip and Cassidy are burying Jesse's body in the desert after his fall from the plane. In the books, they never got the chance to lay Jesse to rest. They never even saw his body after the fall to confirm his death. Meanwhile, Jesse is sent to heaven to meet with Fior, but it turns out to be hell. Remember, Grandma made a deal with Satan that would send Jesse's soul down there once he died.
You'll burn in hell for this.
Maybe. Someday. But today, you burn.
It didn't exactly go down like this in the books either. Jesse met God face to face and he let him live, but also took out one of his eyes. I think we'll get a chance to see that in the show pretty soon here. Jesse is found a day later wandering around the desert by Johnny Lee Wombat, who nurses him back to health. Back on the show, we see Tulip searching for a sign, either a way to get back at God or to bring Jesse back, while Cassidy is treating his sunburn. So long, chickens. By the way, did Cass also make a meal out of that poor man? I sure hope not.
What do you want?
The pair then heads to New York to catch up with a familiar face, Danny. We first met her back in season 1.
You have something for me?
What the hell is Grail Industries anyway?
She's the crime boss that Tulip and Jesse used to work for and also an associate of the Grail, meaning she's the one that can help Tulip find the real Humperdoo and use him as a bargaining chip with God. I want to be clear that none of this happens in the books. Instead, they head to Phoenix, Arizona and numb the pain of their loss in drugs and alcohol. As you saw in the beginning of this video, Hairstar is not having a good time in episode 7. We catch up with him crawling after the dingo that's carrying a mouthful of his you-know-what. Star eventually gives up in the desert and we see some shadowy figures head towards him. We don't get confirmation this episode, but I know exactly who this is. It's the Chunt brothers. I'd recommend taking a look back at Preacher issues 38 and 39 to get an idea of exactly who Star is dealing with here. These three brothers live in an abandoned silver mine located close to Monument Valley. Now, obviously here they're swapping Arizona for Australia, but I hope they keep everything else consistent with the books. I won't spoil any more until we see how it plays out in the show, but all you need to know is that things actually get worse for Star. Another fun reference I caught is when Tulip and Cassidy were in New York. One of Cassidy's comments piqued my interest.
I should go down and see the boys at McSorley's. Of course, they won't be boys anymore, will they? They were like 20-something then, so... Well, Christ, they'd be dead now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, probably.
If you've read the comics, you know that Cassidy spent quite a bit of time here in the Big Apple. In fact, it was the first place he went after being turned into a vampire. He left his family and started with a clean slate in New York City. It should be no surprise here that Cass spent a whole lot of time at McSorley's old alehouse with other Irish expatriates. It also shouldn't surprise you that he partied a whole bunch, took a lot of drugs, got into more than one fight, and fathered a handful of children. Problem was, everyone around him grew older, while he stayed the same youthful age. Eventually, this got old and lonely, so he set out to see more of the country. I need to also mention that New York City, specifically the Empire State Building, is the setting that Cassidy really opens up to Jesse in the books. He tells Jesse his entire life story, and they actually really bond here, something that we really didn't see happen in the show. Let's end with the talk show It's Morning in America. If you paid close attention, you would have noticed some amusing headlines on the bottom ticker. There's a few that I wanted to point out. First, Americans rejoice as Patriots notch 7th Super Bowl. This isn't the first time Preacher has referenced the NFL.
Thomas Jefferson combined with television icon Wayne Brady. I call it the Tom Brady.
Tom Cruise Memorial hits another budget snag. Of course, that's a callback to season 1 when Genesis blew up Tom Cruise. I just can't believe it's taken this long to get his memorial made. And finally, little Texas town with a big manure problem. Now, is that a reference to Anvil? We know that the Texas town had a bad manure and methane gas problem which resulted in its unfortunate destruction. But is there a chance that some of the citizens survived? Or has the town been rebuilt? Maybe there's another town in Texas that might find a similar fate. We'll have to stay tuned, but I definitely feel like we're gonna head back to Texas. That's it for my favorite Easter eggs from episode 7. Let me know your favorites in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss next week's video on episode 8.